Welcome to Matters of DeCorum. I'm Scott Corum. This is what matters to me. I have a thing I do in games. I throw food scenes in when I am running a game. D&D, whatever role-playing game I'm running, there will be a food scene every so often. Three reasons. One, I'm a foodie. I love food. I love talking about food. I love describing food. I love coming up with my own recipes and stuff. I don't get a chance to cook in real life as much as I would like, but I do get a chance to express that part of myself through one of my favorite things, the role-playing game. Reason number two, I like to give the world and the experience the player characters are having in the world a feeling of verisimilitude, that there is a certain reality to it. If the player characters are spending all their time swinging swords or picking locks, running from place to place, you lose a little bit about that. You want them to have experiences that are relatable to real life, a good meal, a comfortable bed from time to time, the opportunity to get clean when they've had nothing but opportunities to get dirty up until that point. You go adventuring in the sewers. Oh, you explained that there is a stream where they can get in and get some of that washed off of them. Maybe some good roots that'll lather up if you give them some friction and get that stuff off of you. Little astringent feel to them, lets you feel your skin breathing again. You want to give the characters, the players, an opportunity to experience through their characters what that world is like day to day, and not just in the constant press of adventuring. And three, when you can describe something that uses all of the senses, you are engaging and immersing your players. It's common to describe things visually. We usually think visually first. There's a sentence. We like to describe things in terms of how we see them, their shapes, their colors, what we could do to describe them upon visual inspection. The sounds that we hear also factor in a lot in descriptions, whether the monster roars or hisses or caterwauls. More monsters should caterwaul, I think. But what does it smell like? When you run your hand across it, or its flesh moves against yours, what does it feel like? Is it dry? Is it raspy? Is it wet? Does it leave a trail of slime? When you are doing a food scene, when you're doing a meal, explaining what is available at the inn and what they serve you when you come in and toss them a couple of coppers, you can engage all of the senses. Before the food ever hits the table, what does it smell like? What does the what is the smell from the kitchen that is floating through the rest of the tavern? Is it meaty, salty, greasy? Do you smell spices? Or just good plain old boiled potatoes? Because that is a wonderful smell. You smell onions in there. When it comes out, what does the food look like? Has it been properly prepared? Does it look like a toothsome meal? Chunk of meat, some potatoes on the side, maybe some onion scattered throughout there. Add a little variety. Does the mouth feel? Is it heavy on the fork? Is it hot to the touch? How's it taste? A lot of this stuff you can rely on your players memory and knowledge. You don't have to describe the taste of a steak to people who have had a steak. Do be sensitive to those people at your table who might not approve of eating steak, and keep it tasteful. A couple of conversations about what people do and don't like at the front of your game session can absolutely make that a little bit easier. Vegetables too have their place. And if you go to this effort to give them this experience in the game, they are invested. There are people who, if that tavern that serves the really, really good chowder gumbo combination, or chumbo as it has come to be called, if that place, someone tries to threaten them, protection racket goes after them, or that fight in the middle of the town square threatens to light it on fire, oh, your people will go out of their way to save the place that's got the good food. Sometimes you want to threaten beloved NPCs to see if you can get a rise out of your players. Sometimes it's the place that serves the chumbo. God, the chumbo place is on fire. Quick, go! To the end of serving good meals in a role-playing game, you can leave it at that. You go to the tavern, it's got really good food. It has this food. They've got something roasting on a spit over the fire. They've got some stuff in a pot in the back. They put it all together on a plate. If you toss them a couple of silver, you got it. If you're paying for a room, they'll throw that in once a day. But if you're going to be detailed about it, if you are the kind of person who digs into the ecology of your dungeon so that all of the stuff in your dungeon makes a certain amount of sense. You don't just have an orc in a 10-foot by 10-foot room guarding a chest, and it's just always there forever, never bothering to eat or sleep or excrete, never trading out with another orc. Uh, if you don't bother with your dungeon ecology, that's one thing. But if you're the kind of person who digs into that dungeon ecology, where is the monster? Where do the monsters sleep? Where do the monsters eat? How do they get their food? Where does their waste go when they are done with their food? How does do they have a guard room? Do they switch shifts? How does this work? Think of the infrastructure it takes to keep a orc guarding a 10-foot by 10-foot room 24/7 for who knows how long. And I mean, it's a good set of considerations because it gives, again, that sense of verisimilitude to your world. But that applies to that tavern. How does that food get to the plate in front of the adventurer? Because that how far back you have that answered is kind of a mark of the level of detail that you're going to here. If you have some idea of how this food would be prepared in the kitchen, that is one thing. I spend my days in quarantine watching food videos. No, little food tricks or recipes. There's like 4 or 5 YouTube channels that I'm subscribed to that are just constant. Here's how I make this. Let me try to make making bread. I'm doing steaks. My favorite gaming channel, Neebs Gaming. Well, one of their guys, Thick44, did a quick video on, hey, here's how I make a steak, and it is by far one of the best instructional steak videos I've ever seen. How does this food get made? It's not hard to get some of that information. If you're a foodie like me, you know how most of this food would be made. If you're a historical foodie, if you watch some of the historical cooking channels are also out there. I watch a couple of those. Townsend's is amazing for this. How would that food get made if I didn't have a modern kitchen? What would I have to cook with? How would I cook it? What techniques could I still use? Not a lot has changed, as it turns out. It's just gotten prettier and more electric. Um, And that is great detail to be able to, if that fight scene goes through the kitchen, what they see in the kitchen, or they're hiding in the kitchen, or they're trying to masquerade as a cook to get in someplace. Now that you have a sense of how does that happen, but you can take it further back than this. Where does that meat come from? Is there cheese in this kitchen? Because that's a big, expensive process. Uh, is there a dairy farm nearby? Or is there a cheese maker who has been taking dairy from far away and using the cheese making process to preserve the goodness of the dairy and getting that to market? How does that happen? What kinds of cheeses? Are these very plain milk cheeses that are basically just for preservation? Are they fanciful? Do they have particular odor, flavor? Are they tangy, salty, sweet? Uh, and how do you get there? If you go to the cheesemaker to have a conversation, what do you see? What do you smell? What is happening in the background? If you go to the butcher to talk to him about things happening in the town, because everyone's going to know the butcher. Um, Everyone's going to need their cut of meat for one reason or another, or that's where they're going to be taking livestock or what they have hunted. If you've got a butcher in a town, that'll take that deer that you brought down last season or this season and cut it up into something that your family can use and give you some silver for the rest of it because they can sell that better than you can. Uh, is a butcher making sausage? How? Where the ingredients come from is important. From the mill where they take the wheat and grind it down into flour, um, to the people who grow the spices and the gardens that have the herbs in them. Uh, where are they grown? Who's doing the work? How are they getting it to the market? How is it getting to the plate? If you have a dungeon ecology sorted out, you should have your kitchen ecology sorted out too. How does this town eat? I have seen any number of supplements and been in games where, okay, there's this little inn in the middle of absolutely nowhere where you can get a meal. How? Is someone coming by every so often with a cart full of food and selling it all to the innkeeper? Um, do you have people hunting the area and foraging for wilds? Because that's not going to last you too long. You can keep a family going by foraging and hunting like that. An inn where you're going to be feeding a constant stream of travelers, you're going to run out of your local forage really fast. Where's the farm that supports this inn? Is there someone keeping a herd of pigs, some lambs, a couple of cows, uh, to provide the milk at the very least, if not a larger herd, so that you can butcher one or two of them a season and get beef? How does this place eat? I guess in a larger sense, what I am saying and suggesting here, I have a passion for food. Uh, it used to express itself in more volume before uh, cancer treatments and whatnot altered how my body reacts to food. Uh, it used to be a problem. I did videos on the elephant in the room being me. Um, but I've always had this passion for food. My family has always raised me to appreciate food and have a cosmopolitan taste. So there's very little I won't try and haven't. Oh gosh, you want to talk about how a farm is using all of the animals that they are raising? You want to talk about something like menudo? Uh, a nice hearty soup that is just loaded with all the chunks of an animal that people usually throw away. One of my favorite things. Usually only served on weekends at the proper restaurants, and I will go out of my way to find a good menudo. Nothing as good for you when you're feeling down. Fills you up with all the stuff that your body's missing. Food's my passion. I have a passion for food. And because I have a passion for food, I express that passion in my gaming. If you have a passion, your role playing games are a great place to express them. I have a passion for tactics or machinery, engineering or leather work or costuming. Oh my God, if you have a passion for costuming, the descriptions that you can throw into your game. When you spread out from that core action, adventure, combat, stealth model and start to include slices of life in your games, that is where all of your passions can find expression. Art, leatherworking, beer making, anything that has grabbed you and that you are looking into, that you follow, that you watch, you can find a way to make that a thing. There's more than one genre of game. If it doesn't fit well into a fantasy game, if you have a passion for computer science or programming or game design, you can take this into a session of Traveler or any other space game, Starfinder. Um, there are as many different ways places and ways to express these passions as there are passions to express. I get excited about good food. And because I have put time and effort into the language of expressing how food is made and prepared, because when I get together with other friends who are foodies, we'll start talking in theoretical recipes. Someone will, well, what if we make dumplings? Well, what if we make dumplings with meat in them? Ooh, what if we make dumplings with pork in them? What if we make dumplings with sausage inside of them? What if we make custom sausage, not in casings, just the mix, ground pork, maybe a little beef or veal, and the right spices, a little onion maybe, grind that up good and put that inside of a dumpling. What if we fry those dumplings afterwards? What if we deep fry those dumplings afterwards? Well, this is the riffing that I do with some of my friends. And now I want deep fried pork dumplings. God damn it. Made myself hungry. Okay, that's because that's what your passions will do at the table. They'll make people hungry. You know, hungry for the food. They'll want to get that food. They'll want to get that they'll want to see a costume like that or maybe get something made. They'll want to commission some art so that they can see this thing that's been described so well that now they're associating with their character and their character's experience. You get to share your passions, and everyone at the table, the players get to do that too. You know, what interests them. And as the dungeon master, you can pick that up and carry some of that enthusiasm. A couple of YouTube videos, a Wikipedia search, Google something. Oh, your Scrimshaw drinking horns. Yeah, they had some of that stuff. It's half an hour out of your week. It's half an hour out of your week to go and look up a couple of things on that. And, you know, if that turns into, it's not expensive to get raw horn. You can pick up 5 or 6, eBay, Amazon. We'll give you a couple of links here and there. You can find horns that have been from cattle that have been processed already. They're hollow, so that you can polish them down. Maybe do some carving in the side of them. Burn some symbols into it, and do a little resin on the inside, and you have a food safe resin, and you got a serviceable Viking drinking horn. I used to have one. I should probably make myself another one if I'm going to be drinking mead. Um, and, that's going to be cumbersome to carry around. Maybe a little other work. It's a couple of tools. It's an expenditure in tools and some materials. Again, stuff you can mostly find online anymore. It's some YouTube tutorials, and that's not a bad thing to bring to the table with you. Shoulder strap, drinking horn, and a little harness, some spikes on the side. This hobby is in and of itself a passion. Playing role-playing games is a passion of mine. I really enjoy this activity. It brings me joy. It brings me joy to be able to share these experiences with other people. It's how I eventually learned to socialize because I was not good at socializing as a child. This hobby gave me a start at picking up real social skills. And it involved everything that I love to do, reading and imagination and daydreaming, but I could do it with other people. It's a passion that breeds other passions because you get the source material where Tolkien, David Eddings, Larry Niven, Keith Laumer, some of my favorite authors wrote material that contributed to one role playing game or another. Oh god, first edition Traveler was amazing for that because there was a secret in the back of one of the books. One of the first supplements in Traveler, 1001 characters. Which, because of the shorthand version of Traveler characters, they could pack 1001 characters in there. Random stats generated, all of them still alive, go figure. First edition Traveler, where that, you might not end up character creation alive, but here's 1001 characters. Pick one and use, or just slap a name on it and take it off to as an NPC. But there were 6 characters in the back, drawn from the pages of science fiction, and they didn't source them. You didn't have the names. You had to read the description and figure out what character from science fiction literature that character was by inference. Those were a challenge, and I worked them out. A couple of them are really easy, couple of them are not. And I'm not going to say. Find yourself an original copy of 1001 characters and see if you can work that out yourself. I had passions grow from my pursuit of the hobby. And through my pursuit of the hobby, I have gained more passions. I have gained more things that I'm a fan of, that I can associate with, more areas of interest. A lot of my interests in writing and literature and art flowed from my role playing game experience. So, do food scenes. Uh, add to the verisimilitude of your worlds by pulling from your passions and putting it on the table. Share it, because if you share something you are that enthusiastic about, uh, that makes the world you are running enthusiastic about this thing. That makes it more real there. And that allows the other people there at the table to pick it up and run. If you run a food scene and everyone gets hungry, you're doing it right. If you run a clothing scene and people start wanting art of this, and that's fulfilling for the dungeon master, and it is enriching for the people at the table. And that's kind of the best possible end of this, that everyone brings everything they've got to the table and walks away with more than they started with. Well, thank you for following me along on this particular rant. I'm hungry now. I need to go make myself some pork dumplings or something. If you enjoyed the video, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't enjoy the video, give me a thumbs down. Feedback is feedback. If there's anything else you'd like to hear me talk about, or you have passions of your own that you'd like to discuss or see how they incorporate into a video, anything you'd like to hear me talk about, subjects you'd like to hear me cover, leave me a comment below. I will love getting your comment. You will love leaving me one. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, why not? My channel is awesome. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button. If you do, make sure you hit the notification bell as well so that you're alerted when my videos become available. If you would like to contribute to the channel in a more substantial manner, I invite you to hit me up on my Patreon page, www.patreon.com/ScottQuorum, and consider donating. Absolutely anything helps. Allows me to make better videos more often. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching. I'm Scott Quorum, this is what it mattered to me, and I will see you next time with the next Matters of Decorum.